Picture this. The journey ahead starts here together, and together we can build a brighter future. You are listening to Illuminating Hope, a podcast of Hope House. Marianne, the support of our donors is transformational. It's life-changing for a lot of our survivors. Do you have any thoughts on how we can deepen our impact with our donors for our survivor community?
What we're working on now is a way for that to happen. I think when we talked about how we wanted to expand the prevention program, the Speakers Bureau, and then really looking at some of those workshops and coming up with and developing ways that we can enhance our communication to the community as a whole, especially to our donors as well. If we can work on how we tell the story of our survivors and we can really make it so people understand. Domestic violence is so complex, and it can be really hard to summarize it or bring it down to a place that you can just talk to somebody quickly around something maybe that a survivor has had happen. But if we can just take pieces of it and tell the story in ways then that will stay with people and that they can then really truly understand what it is that we do, what it is that our survivors encounter. I think that's what's most important for us, is to be able to really explain to those people who support us and to the community in general what our survivors encounter. Hopefully that would engage them in a way that they haven't been engaged yet.
Because survivors can be thrivers in their life. And one thing to understand with our domestic violence survivors is some of them don't even realize it yet because they're in the middle of it. You can't see the forest through the trees. I wouldn't have been able to 25 years ago see the forest through the trees, see what I've done or what I'm doing today. And I think to humanize our survivors is so important. We're thinking about their futures. We're thinking about all of the things, but they're working 3 jobs, some of them, to even survive. And we wonder why they miss their court dates. Well, there's so many barriers that they have.
What you just talked about was just really a prime example of the difficulty that we have, because there's no way that you can say that our survivors are in the same place.
Right.
They're somewhere along the continuum of the journey. And the journey, we all are on a journey.
Yeah.
I mean, our lives are all journeys. So where they are on their journey and in their process will explain for them. What you just explained, though, is so difficult because you've got someone who is still in the relationship. Okay,
right.
Their journey looks very different than someone who has escaped and has been out for 10 years. I think that's our challenge, and one of our goals is to be able to tell the story no matter where that person is on the journey, to really be able to encapsulate what domestic violence is, which is huge. And so I think for us, that is our goal, but it's also our responsibility, is to be able to tell the story of the survivor no matter where that person is on their journey, and that people can understand that a survivor does not fit a particular stereotype. You can't just look at somebody and say, that person has been experiencing domestic violence. You can't do that because it's so different for everyone. And it can happen to anyone. It can happen to anyone, anytime. And so for us to be able to share that in a way that makes sense and that it brings it down into focus about what we as Hope House do, but also what we as a community can do to impact domestic violence.
When looking ahead to the future of greater support for survivors, what dreams do you have for Hope House organization in the coming years? What personal dreams, if you had an unlimited amount of resources, what would you like to see?
The dream would be one that we weren't even here.
100%.
I mean, we talked about that before, that our goal would be to talk ourselves out of a job. I don't know that that will happen before it's time for me to retire, but it's still something that's like the dream, the aspiration to work towards. But short of that, or what I think we're doing right now, I really would like to see us be in the community and be a bigger part of the community and have our voice be louder, I guess you might say, so that we can reduce the number of people coming to us for services. But I would also love to have enough that we didn't have to have waiting lists, that we didn't have to have restrictions about how much we can help somebody because we don't have the resources to have that program. But to be able to say that these are all of the things that impact a survivor on their journey, and we had the resources to be able to address them. So that meant we had enough staff to do all of those things, and we had enough resources to help people get into their own homes and to be able to be stably housed and have enough therapy and court advocates and attorneys and all of those things that we do, but we don't ever seem to have enough. We always seem to need more. So that would be my ultimate goal, but I think we're doing a pretty good job of utilizing the resources that we do have.
I 100% agree. So how do you think that donors, our business partners, reoccurring donors, our community as a whole, not only support us financially, but what other things can our Hope House community do that can help us to achieve those goals?
Being able to get into places and talk to people is so incredibly important.
That makes them a part of the vision.
Absolutely. And then if they can be a part of the vision and they can understand it and they can support it and they can buy into it, then that means then that they're going to go out and talk to someone else. And that means that they're going to share, because we can only talk to so many people. There's only so many of us that can do that. It's that effect where you talk to one person, they go talk to someone, and then it just spreads out. And so to me, to be able to have the community engaging with us, coming to workshops, inviting us to their places of business, their groups, their organizations, so that we can really talk about what we do and why we have to do what we do, we can then engage people at a much deeper level than be doing with them if we haven't had those conversations.
So not only the people that support Hope House, the businesses that support Hope House, the clubs, the foundations that support Hope House, but anyone within our community can ask for resources, can have us come out and speak at their events. We have trained public speakers that go out all the time. That would be a huge part of the vision that we're looking at. Bring more awareness to what we're doing for the sake of the safety of survivors.
I think the other thing is that people don't always understand the impact that they can have. I have a little saying it's actually on my bathroom mirror that I see every day, and it says it's something around, if you don't understand the impact that you have, you think that as an individual you're too small to make an impact. It says, but then you must never have spent the night with a mosquito. And that really helps keep me into focus that something as small as a mosquito can have a massive impact on someone.
Oh my word.
And so thinking about that, people minimize or tend to minimize the impact that they can have. It really only takes one. It takes one person to hear the message and carry the message forward. It's kind of like the only dark is the absence of light. And all you have to do when there's darkness is light a candle or light a match or turn on one light, and then you're no longer in darkness. That's what I think that we're about, that one person can make a difference by hearing what we have to say, by listening to what we have to say, and then talking about that and spreading that and sharing that with others. That's how survivors and people who are in the middle of domestic violence hear about us, and that's how people come to be able to be our supporters as well. So just never minimize the impact that you as an individual can make.
That's a very good point, very valid point. When I first wrote my book and when I first shared my story way back in 2012, I never dreamed. I was scared, number one, to even share my story, especially to put it in the written word. But number two, I never dreamed the emails that I would get saying I finally was brave enough to talk about how there was incest in my family. So it was a different kind of abuse, but it empowered people to give validation to their own story. And I never, ever dreamed, and my book's not even very good. It's the simple fact that I was healing, and on my healing journey, I wrote this book. Will I revise the book? Of course I will. I never realized that transformational journey that I was on that actually would pour into somebody else to be able to empower them to share their story. That's the conviction of why I work here at Hope House and why I like to go out and I speak and I teach and I dispel myths and misnomers about what domestic violence is and what it looks like. You're right, it can be absolutely anyone. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, for the last 25 years of my freedom, I'm very thankful for the call I made the Hope House, and I'm very thankful for all of the support that Hope House community has had through the years in order for me to have my transformational journey today and be a voice for those who lost their voice or don't know they have it yet, but they will find. So that's why I do everything I do every day, and I'm just so grateful for the Hope House community. Is there other ways besides me? I don't want to sit here and talk about myself, but is there any other ways that our supporters have transformed lives?
Oh my goodness.
Like thousands?
Absolutely. I think too that people don't always understand the impact that they're having on staff.
Yes.
Just the support and knowing that people are behind us and are with us and are supporting us. Again, we've talked to quite a few people in just in this podcast room about how they have given. People giving of themselves can mean so much to someone, whether they're experiencing domestic violence or some other tragedy or some other complication or just something in their life that's been difficult. Knowing that there's someone there and that somebody's listening and really taking the time to hear what you have to say. And not only that, our supporters, from the little kids who do the lemonade stands and the giving back, and the kids that say, I don't want birthday presents, I want you to collect for the Hope House Christmas store. And from those things, those are so impactful. Those individuals are making a huge difference to the large companies and the groups that come and give of their time and their talents and their resources to help us. I always say that you never know what you can do until we sit down and talk about what you want to do. What is it that you as a donor or supporter of ours wants? What would make you feel good? And then how we fit that into what we do. And we always seem to find a way.
Yeah.
We sit down and we strategize and we can be as creative as we allow our imaginations to let us. And that's where we've come up with some of the amazing things that have happened here. We've got people who support birthdays. We talked about how if you're living in shelter and you're having a birthday, it can be really sad. But we make it a happy occasion because we have supporters who said, you know what, birthdays were really important to my mom. And so I want to support and give us money so that we can have birthday cakes and party supplies and we can celebrate birthdays. People can go to the store. Moms can go and pick out, or dads, whomever, can go and pick out presents for their kids. That came from conversations with us and the donor about what they could do and how they could help. People collecting purses. I remember talking to someone who said, I kind of have a purse fetish. I love purses. And we talked about how independence and economic security is something that is stripped away from survivors. And so donating purses, and it's endless as to how people can give and have given. But I think that the thing that sticks with me as being someone who's been here for such a long time and in various roles throughout is the love and the support that comes to us from this community. The people who want to be a part of the solution and want to make sure that we have what we need to be able to help the clients that we serve. That is what gets me through. That is what sustains me, is knowing that we have this community behind us. And it doesn't happen everywhere. I talk to people from other parts of the state, from other parts of the country who don't have the love and the support that we do. And so I truly am grateful for that, and knowing that if I need something, I have a list of people that I can call to just say, okay, how do I get this? Can you help me with this? And they will line up and help.
One of my favorite things is when Bree, our marketing and communication manager, puts something out on the urgent need list, and our community just steps up and we have what we need. And sometimes it's specific to that survivor. Often we say survivor, we say clients, but really these are community people. These are our neighbors, these are our friends that need help for a time being. And when you look at it like that, to me it's a given to be a part of that community.
I think that's an important piece to remember, that because we use those terms, that doesn't mean that they aren't people. They are people. They are your coworkers, they're your family members, they are people, they're your friends, people that you know, people that you love and care about. And so they're not just this number or this vague existence that you have no interaction with. No matter where you are, you have encountered someone who has been impacted by domestic violence. It's not possible to not, because the numbers are so great. Now, it may not be somebody you know well, and you may not even know that you know someone, because it's such a hidden topic for a lot of people. They keep it very close and they don't share that. But I think it is right to bring it back to these are human beings who are just like you and I. They're just people that something really tragic has happened to.
And I think it's a valid point, too, to go back to what you were saying about going into businesses and doing workshops or to different organizations and teaching and training our our community, how to be a safe community, how to know what to do if maybe there is somebody who comes to you or you suspect that something may be happening. What can you do? And that's what we want to do to come alongside our community. And we want to teach and train how to handle such things, because it's just part of life right now. Unfortunately, it's part of, and a large part, it's so consuming people's lives.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it's still here. It hasn't gone away. And
still here.
The more that we talk about it, the more that people become aware of it, the more that we're going to see it. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because then that just means more and more people know about what it is and how to help. And if you don't know how to help or you don't know what to do, that's when you call us. That's what we're here for. We're here for the people that are experiencing domestic violence, but we're also here to be a resource to the community when there is a need and they need our help. That's what we're here for as well.
And we want to achieve these milestones together as a community in our society. And we can't do that without all community support, of course. So let's delve in just a little bit. We have a little bit of time left here. Let's delve into what Missouri State has passed so that if you do give financially, even but $100, what happens and what tax credits are and how that actually is a benefit to giving to domestic violence organizations, giving to Hope House.
One of the great things that I always have felt, we want to be able to give to the donors as they give to us. So yes. I love having something to offer to them. Now, unfortunately, we can't offer it to everyone, but we can offer it to some. I really appreciate our state legislators for recognizing the need, recognizing the importance of this and passing that. We are very fortunate to have 70% tax credits that we can offer to those who have Missouri tax liability. So if you have a Missouri tax liability and you donate a minimum of $100, then you would potentially be eligible for this. Now, we're also not tax accountants, so we are not giving tax advice to anyone, and I would encourage you to go and talk to whoever helps you with your taxes to see if these would benefit you. But we are able to do that so that if you're giving to Hope House $100 and you are eligible for these credits, and you would get 70% of that back as a credit, which means that if you have a tax liability, go to file, and you owe the state of Missouri a certain amount of money, whatever that is, then you can subtract this credit from that. And that it's really simple, but yet it's also very hard for people to understand because it seems too good to be true. But it's not. We have had a 50% tax credit for a very long time. The state legislators really understood, and they upped it to 70%. And we are just so grateful, so absolutely grateful to have this, to be able to offer to our donors. There's information on our website that explains it, where you can get the form, you can download the form. There's a question and answer, the most commonly asked questions. There's still questions after that. Please call or take that information to your tax professional and get some information from them. As we're going into the end of the year, this is a very big time for us in terms of gifts that come our way, that if they have the ability to give more, then that tax credit could benefit you if you owe Missouri tax liability. And again, if you have questions, best to look at the website, call us, or go to your tax professional.
Those who are eligible are not only our individual donors, our reoccurring donors, but also businesses. Is that correct?
If the business is in the state of Missouri and you're doing business here and you have tax liability, then yes. And if that doesn't apply to you, so again, the question and answer would tell you what businesses are eligible, what gifts are eligible. This is not for in-kind gifts. We don't make those rules. This is coming. These are the rules that we abide by.
So if you donate something other than money, that would not be
correct. And if you get something in return for your gift, so say you bought an auction item or you purchased a table for one of our events, you have to deduct the value of what you received, and then you get what's over that. So if you bought an auction item that was worth $100 value, but you paid $200, then you would have $100 that you could count towards that. But if you paid and it was less than the value, then you wouldn't be able to count that. There are some of those kinds of rules, and we can help talk through that as well. But it's important to read through the rules and the question and answers to make sure that what you have would be eligible. We are grateful to have that, to be able to give, and I really would encourage people to think about their end of year giving and how that might impact their giving if they were able to utilize those tax credits.
Appreciate this time with you to talk about that. I'm always grateful for any time that we get to sit down and chat like this, and I feel like we have have our entire community in here with us sometimes just chatting, and I love it. But I do want to say to our community, our Hope House community, our donors, our business donors, our individuals, our lemonade stand mavens, I am personally truly blessed because of it. I'm a survivor, and I know that I speak for a lot of our clients that are survivors as well. They are so truly grateful for the support of the Hope House community that truly transforms lives.
Absolutely. Something to think about as a supporter is you most likely will never know the impact that you made with your gift, whether it's your gift of time or resources or your talent. You may not ever know what you did and how that impacted someone, but know that you made a difference. Know that somewhere a seed was planted and will grow, even if you never get to see that.
I agree. Thank you so much, Marianne.